Alien abductions. Are they the stuff of nightmares and sci-fi movies? Or is there something more? Today we're diving into the real-life UFO encounters, looking into the stories of the people who swear that they had been abducted or confronted by aliens. Jump into the world of mysteries with us, and let's try to find out if these encounters actually happen, or did someone just want their 5 minutes of fame? In 1961, on a quiet, rural road in New Hampshire, an ordinary couple had an extraordinary experience that would change their lives forever. This is the story of Barney and Betty Hill, a story that brought the concept of alien abduction into the mainstream and sparked decades of debate. Was it a close encounter, or simply a case of mistaken memory? Let's start by getting to know the Hills. Barney and Betty were an interracial couple living in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, a big deal in the early 1960s. They were hardworking, active in their community, and loved to travel. By all accounts, they were a normal, down-to-earth couple. In mid-September 1961, Barney and Betty decided to take a well-earned vacation to Niagara Falls and Montreal. After a few days of sightseeing, they were driving back home late at night on September 19th. The roads were quiet, the sky was clear. As they drove through the White Mountains, Betty noticed a strange light in the sky. At first, they thought it was a star, or maybe a satellite. But as they kept driving, the light seemed to follow them, growing brighter and larger. Eventually, curiosity got the better of them. Barney pulled the car over, grabbed a pair of binoculars, and stepped out to take a closer look. Through the binoculars, Barney claimed he saw a craft hovering in the air, and beings inside it. Yes, beings. Humanoid figures staring down at him. Panicked, he ran back to the car, shouting, "They're going to capture us."
What's that? What's that noise?
Barney and Betty sped away, trying to escape the mysterious craft. But here's where things get strange. When they arrived home, they realized something was off. Their drive should have taken about 4 hours, but they were missing 2 whole hours of time. And it wasn't just the missing time that was strange. Betty's dress was torn, Barney's shoes were inexplicably scuffed, and there were strange, shiny marks on their car. Something had happened to them, but they couldn't remember what. In the weeks that followed, Betty began having vivid dreams about their encounter. She dreamt of being taken abroad by a spacecraft and examined by strange beings. Barney, however, had no such memories, just a lingering sense of unease. The Hills decided to seek help. They contacted a psychiatrist, Dr. Benjamin Simon, who specialized in hypnosis. Over several sessions, the Hills were placed under hypnosis to recover their lost memories, and what they described was nothing short of extraordinary. Under hypnosis, both Betty and Barney described being taken abroad by a spacecraft with humanoid beings inside. The beings were described as short, with large heads, big eyes, and grayish skin. They claimed they were separated and subjected to medical examinations, with strange instruments used to take samples of their skin, hair, and bodily fluids. One of the most famous elements of Betty's story was the star map. She claimed the aliens showed her a map of their home star system. Later, under hypnosis, she sketched it from memory. In the 1960s, it didn't mean much, but years later, an amateur astronomer suggested it resembled the Zeta Reticuli star system. The Hill story quickly became national news, attracting both believers and skeptics. UFO researchers hailed it as proof of alien encounters, while skeptics suggested it could be explained by sleep deprivation, stress, or even vivid dreams. The hypnosis sessions, critics argued, might have created false memories rather than recovered real ones. Whether you believe their story or not, there's no denying its impact. Hill's account was the first widely publicized case of alien abduction and set the template for countless stories that followed. Movies, books, TV shows, all owe a debt to Barney and Betty Hill. So what really happened in that night in 1961? Was it an encounter with beings from another world, or just a product of human imagination and fear? The truth like the stars themselves, remained just out of reach. In the quiet, pine-covered mountains of Snowflake, Arizona, the year was 1975. It was an ordinary November evening for a group of loggers finishing their day's work deep in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest. Among them was a 22-year-old named Travis Walton, a man who by all accounts had no idea his life was about to change forever. The crew of 7 men, including Walton, piled into a single truck as they began the long drive home. It was just after sunset and the air was crisp, with only the hum of the truck engine breaking the stillness. As they traveled down the forest road, something caught their eye, a glowing light shining through the trees. At first, they thought it might be a fire or perhaps a plane crash, but as they drew closer, the source of light became clear, and much stranger than anything they could have imagined. Hovering in the clearing ahead was an object, a metallic, disc-shaped craft, glowing brilliantly against the darkening sky. The truck screeched to a halt. The men were frozen in place, staring at the object, but not Travis. Driven by a mix of curiosity and disbelief, he jumped out of the truck to get a closer look. His crewmates shouted at him to stay back, but he didn't listen. He moved closer and closer until he was directly beneath the craft, craning his neck to take it all in. Then, without warning, everything changed. A green beam of light shot down from the craft, striking Travis square in the chest. He was thrown backward, his body flung through the air like a rag doll. His co-workers watched in horror as his limp form hit the ground. The men panicked, convinced that whatever they'd just seen had killed Travis. They did the only thing they could think of. They sped off, leaving him behind. The drive back to town was chaotic. The men were in shock, arguing about what to do. When they finally returned to Snowflake, they contacted the authorities, explaining that something unexplainable had happened in the woods. At first, the local sheriff didn't know what to make of their story. A UFO? A beam of light? It sounded like something of a science fiction movie. But things took a darker turn when a search party was organized, and there was no sign of Travis. No body, no evidence. Just the eerie silence where the crew had last seen him. Days passed by, and rumors began to swirl. Some people accused the crew of foul play, suggesting they'd fabricated the story to cover up a crime. Others whispered about UFOs and alien abductions. The national media picked up the story, turning Snowflake into a hotspot for reporters, skeptics, and UFO enthusiasts. Then, 5 days later, everything changed again. Late in the night, a phone rang at the gas station on the outskirts of town. On the other end of the line was a voice, weak and desperate. It was Travis Walton. He was alive. Walton was found disoriented and dehydrated, lying on the side of the road. He had no idea how he'd gotten there, or what had happened to him during the days he'd been missing, but as his memory began to return, he described something extraordinary. According to Walton, he regained consciousness in what he initially thought was a hospital, but it quickly became clear that this was no ordinary medical facility. The walls were metallic, the lighting dim and otherworldly, and then he saw them, the beings. They were short, humanoid creatures with smooth, pale skin and large, almond-shaped eyes. Their movements were deliberate, almost mechanical, and their expressions unreadable. Walton panicked as he lashed out, grabbing a nearby object to defend himself. The beings retreated, leaving him alone in the room. But his experience didn't end there. Walton claimed he encountered other figures, ones that looked more human, dressed in strange uniforms. These beings didn't speak, but led him to another area of the craft, where he was shown what he described as a starry void. After that, his memory faded. His account sent shockwaves through the small community and the country. UFO researchers hailed Walton's story as one of the most credible abduction cases ever recorded, while skeptics pointed to the inconsistencies and questioned the reliability of his hypnosis-aided recollections. Even Walton's co-workers faced intense scrutiny. They all passed polygraph tests about what they had witnessed, though critics have questioned the accuracy of such tests. Over the years, the Travis Walton incident has become a cornerstone of UFO lore. It's been a subject of books, documentaries, and even a Hollywood film, Fire in the Sky. Yet the questions remain. Was Travis Walton truly abducted by beings from another world? Or was it all an elaborate hoax, a misunderstanding that spiraled out of control? For his part, Walton has stuck to his story for nearly 5 decades. He insists he experienced something beyond explanation. Something that forever altered his view of reality. Whether you believe his account or not, one thing is certain. The Travis Walton incident remains one of the most compelling and controversial UFO cases in history. It challenges us to question the boundaries of what we know and invites us to consider the possibility that just maybe we're not alone in the universe. And who knows, the next extraordinary encounter could just be a beam of light away.